For more on the crisis in Syria, we're joined by Edmund Ghareeb. He's a specialist in Middle East affairs and a former professor at American University. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you. Good to see you.
We hear the Syrian government say that the fight in Idlib is ending soon. Is it really ending soon?
It's not yet clear, but there's no doubt that the Syrian government, now that has gained control over most of the territory, maybe about 75% of the territory of Syria, is not going to allow the continuation of a rebel force of also jihadist groups, Qaeda, remnants of ISIS, elements like the Turkestan Islamic Party, and a number of these groups which are fighting in Idlib. They're somewhere between, nobody knows the exact figures, at least many people believe it's somewhere between 60 to 100,000 fighters. Some of these were forced into Idlib after the government gained control in areas in East Ghouta and Daraa and the southern part and the Tadmor area. So basically this is the last major battle that's going to be taking place. And too many interests are there. I mean, you have the United States is interested, Turkey is there, and they don't always see eye to eye. The Europeans, the Iranians, the Russians, China, many countries have an interest in what's likely to happen in Syria and certainly what's going to happen in Idlib.
Let's talk about regional and global stakeholders. The leaders of Turkey and Russia are meeting on Monday. What do you expect to come out of the summit?
I think this is a very important meeting, basically because Russia, Iran, and Turkey were the countries which have reached agreements about deconfliction zones in Syria and different parts. But now the Turks are in a much more difficult position. The Iranians, the Russians, and the Syrians want to get rid of the radical extremists in Idlib. They want to liberate Idlib and gain control over it for the Syrian government. Turkey, however, sees this as one of the last zones which it has influence and they also want to have a voice in any kind of future settlements. So as a result, they have provided their military support and aid to some of the rebel forces in Idlib. And also at the same time, they're trying to support the U.S., which also, as we heard from a senior U.S. official last week telling the Washington Post, it wants to create quagmires for the Syrian government in this part of Syria until the U.S. gets what it wants. So basically, you're seeing now a lot of conflict. So the Turks are trying to, in a way, to maintain a good relationship with the Russians. They know that they have a lot of interest, but at the same time, they also want to please Washington, but also they're concerned about the Kurds who are living and control the area in the northeast.
Let's talk about Washington. What do you think will the U.S. do towards Syria? Because according to revelations of Woodward's book, the Trump administration's foreign policy making process is not without its chaos, to put it mildly.
Clearly, and we've seen a lot of contradictions. I mean, if we go back to what President Trump said during the election, the President said that he does not want to stay in Syria. He wants to work with the Russians to get rid of the Al-Qaeda and the terrorists in there, and that the U.S. has no interest there. But if we take a look at some of the stands which have been taken recently, we are seeing more and more that the U.S. wants to remain in Syria. And the U.S. basically wants to control this area near the borders with Turkey and Iraq. And this area is very rich in oil, water. It's agriculturally rich. So basically, that means denying the Syrian regime the ability to rebuild, to have a much easier time of creating a normal situation. Part of the reason why the U.S. wants this, because they're concerned about Iran and Iran's support for Hezbollah, for Hamas, and a corridor between Syria, Iraq, and Iran. So basically, that's one of the reasons. These are some of the objectives of the neoconservatives, the neoliberals in the United States. But there are also elements who are concerned about this U.S. presence. They see that the U.S. is not legally there. There's no UN resolution. It has not been invited by the Syrian government. So the U.S. is in a difficult situation too, even militarily, because it's in some areas it's surrounded by hostile forces. So it's a complex, very complex, and extremely dangerous because of the danger also of a Russian-American confrontation. If not necessarily because the Russians and the Americans want to attack each other because of mistakes or errors in judgment or accidents.
Certainly a very complex picture over there, Edward. Edmund, thank you so much for your insight.